All right, today's lesson is powers on the calculator, putting in exponents and powers into the calculator. Before we get started, we're going to look at the keys we'll be using. We'll be using this key over here, which is the power key, also known as the caret key. That's going to tell what power to raise it to. These two keys here, the left and the right parenthesis key. We'll also be using this x squared key and this negative key. So those are the keys we'll be using. You might want to sketch your calculator, and where the keys are located, go ahead and sketch that and put that in your notes. So when you look back at it, you'll know where the keys are. Powers on the calculator. Powers are used to represent repeated multiplication, like 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. The term, or the power, is 2 to the 5th. We call the whole thing together the power. The 2 we call the base. That is the number being multiplied. 5 is the exponent, the number of times we're multiplying the number. So here are a few examples to put into our calculator. First one is 2 to the 5th, and it says it equals 32, so let's verify that. We're going to enter the base of 2. We're going to hit this caret or power key, and then 5, and enter. 2 raised to the 5th power is 32. The next example is 3 to the 4th, so the base of 3, caret key 4, and then enter. 3 to the 4th is 81. 5 raised to the 3rd power is 125. The next two are squared numbers, so we have two options there. We can take 6 and raise it to the 2nd power to get 36, or we can hit 6 and the x squared key and get 36. 4 raised to the 2nd power will give us 16, or 4 x squared key, enter, will give us 16. So that's how you enter powers, exponents, into the calculator. When you're squaring numbers and you have negative signs, you need to be careful. You need to beware. Here I have 4 examples. I have 3 squared, I have a base of negative 3 squared, I have a negative 3 squared, and I have a negative 3 squared. So we're going to look at these, see how they're different, how they're similar, and verify it on the calculator. So 3 squared just means the base of positive 3 times positive 3, and we know that is 9. So put that into our calculator. Hit 3, I'm just going to hit the x squared key, and I get 9. The next example, the base is a negative 3, so I'm going to put parentheses around that. Negative 3 times negative 3. And that's going to give me a positive 9. So put that in the calculator. I'm going to put the parenthesis, negative 3 parenthesis squared. Enter, and that's a positive 9. The third example is a negative 3 squared. So if you look at this compared to the first example, you can see it's the opposite of the first. So I should get a negative 9. So if I had to write that out or expand it, that would really be a negative 1 times a positive 3 base times a positive 3 base, which would give me a negative 9, which is the opposite of the first example. So negative a 3 squared. The last example is they have a negative and a negative 3 base, so they want a negative 1 times a base of negative 3. And that should give me the opposite of this up here with a negative 3 squared, So it should give me a negative 9. So a negative, parenthesis, negative 3, parenthesis squared, will give me a negative 9. So there's some subtle differences there. You just need to be very, very careful on how you input these numbers into your calculator. So now we're going to evaluate x squared and negative x squared. We're going to substitute a 5 in, a positive 5, and a negative 4 to each, and see the difference. Anytime I substitute, I'm going to put parentheses around the number I'm substituting to ensure the right answer. So here we go. So we're going to substitute 5 for x in here. Since I'm substituting, I'm going to put parentheses around it. So parenthesis 5, parentheses squared. And that gives me a positive 25. The next example, the base is negative 4, so parenthesis negative 4, parentheses squared. And that gives me a positive 16. Now we're going to do for number 2, negative x squared, or the opposite. So we should be getting the opposite answers. We should be getting a negative 25 and a negative 16. So we first put in our negative sign, put parentheses around the 5, because that's what we're substituting, and we get our negative 25, and then our negative sign, and a negative 4, because that's what we're substituting, and we should get a negative 16. So here you want to go ahead and write your answers down. Let's do it this way. So this should equal 25. This should equal 16. This should equal negative 25. And this should equal a negative 16. So when you're squaring and you have negative numbers, negative signs, always use caution.